Welcome back, dear Excellencies. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here in Bern. Welcome back to all our viewers around the globe. It's time for the second part of today's Future Talk. My name is Dorothy Gelmar. I'm happy to introduce myself for the next 2 hours to all our participants just tuned in. We're looking back on a very great half day where we had our first panel, we had our talk with the private sector, the greeting words, and so on. And now it's time for the second panel for today. And this is our topic. How do we organize education for How do we shift and digitalize teaching and learning towards the need of future industrial and social skills, employability, and growth? And I'm looking forward to meeting the panelists, not live in Bern, but virtually, and they will join us via video call. I say hi to Taina Tukainen, professor at Aalto University, and I hope she is there. Taina.
Yes, thank you so much. It's pleasure and honor to be with you today. Of course, hope to be there in Bern, but unfortunately, that's the case. We cannot be there, so...
That's true. Next year. Next year, Taina, hopefully. Thanks for joining us. Good that you're here. I also say hi to Carolyn Kotze, CEO Women in Governance in Canada. Hi to Canada.
Hello, good to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, thank you for taking part. Thanks for your time. Thomas Plätscher, Secretary General in the International Chamber of Commerce. Hello, Thomas. I'm Dorothy. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you for the possibility to participate.
And last but not least, Pierre Dillenburg, Professor of Learning Technologies at School of Computer and Communication Sciences. Pierre, thanks for being part of our Future Talk panel number 2 for today.
Hello from Lausanne, Switzerland.
So, dear panelists, we want an interactive panel talk. So if you want to add something to a comment another panelist just said or mentioned, please feel free. We want it to be interactive. And also for you, ladies and gentlemen, at home or at the home office, I have my Whova event app here on my phone, and all the questions that you post in the Whova app or in the comment function on YouTube will appear here on my phone, and I will hand them over to the panelists. So please feel free to interact with us. We would appreciate that very much. And also, for sure, hear our guests live on site in Bern. So I would say, let's start. Taina, the first question that I'd like to hand over to you. You're the Professor of Corporate Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Aalto University in Finland, and you are also advisor to the Vice President of the European Committee of Regions. Could you tell us, please, what is the role of the knowledge-based institutions and industry collaboration in digital transformation and also in data science?
Thank you so much. Definitely. If I start from the education 4.0, industry collaboration is, of course, definitely a crucial part. But thinking about the education 4.0, if I at first actually, introduce, because I'm coming from the Aalto University, which is in Finland, and basically Aalto is, I'm showing you the prospect of Aalto, which is showing that towards a better world. Mm-hmm. And we are the new university 10 years ago, established when they merged Helsinki University of Technology, Business and Arts together. And basically, what's the identity? It's the Innovation University, small, and put heavy emphasis of the community of game changers in research and in education. And I think so that these are the elements that actually in overall we should actually look in education 4.0 and thinking about the technology. I'm coming from the technology and business side, but I think that the key messages, thinking about actually, what's evident in today's world is the change and learning. So those are those who stay. And then if we are looking, Mahatma Gandhi said actually very nicely, long time ago, that live like you die tomorrow and learn as if you would live forever. And I think so those kind of mentality is the key. Even though we are talking about the technologies, even though we are talking about actually, digital transformation, that goes, and industry together with the society, of course, very responsible decision makers make it, work and come better. But certain things needs to stay, and those are the values. And if I'm thinking now, we heard about, in these 3 days, in the war, a lot of stories, how digital transformation, artificial intelligence will affect us, everybody, and will turn our lives upside down. But there are certain things I think that actually are staying, and there are certain hope. And the first thing is where I actually believe it is the next generation and youth. There's lots of talk, are they better? Also, in my opinion, they are better than ever. They are more knowledgeable, they are more capable. If we are thinking about any PC phone or so, I use my kids to fix it. Even though I have a degree of, I'm the doctor of the technology. But it's evolving so quickly. And the youth, of course, they need to be in the top of the trends and top of the capabilities. Of course, there are certain issues, maybe the past, they don't know about the past. We should also know the past. We need to learn from the past. But it's also, important that there is that, the future. And this kind of, we talk about mentorship, it's happening in the industry, it's happening in the education, knowledge societies, but the reverse mentorship should actually give lots of, for the firms as an example, so that using the youth and young people, mentoring about these quick fixes, let's say it so. And also the women, because women are the minority in the high-tech world, as we heard actually in the last session. Of course, this is not enough. We need actually then analytical frameworks, perspectives, and strategic thinking. Of course, that strategic thinking is more and more important in this kind of world, which is changing. And of course, even thinking about, if we are thinking about this youth, if we are even thinking our careers, we believe it, lifelong employment and so forth. Of course, now it's actually absolutely upside down. So that the young people, when they are actually entering to the society, they have the short-term, part-time employment. They need to fix it. They need to work it parallel. We need to actually to mentally teach the world to that kind of situation, cope it and onwards. And of course, there comes a very important body and mind, so that they are balanced, so that curiosity, creativity, openness, there's enough room for that. Because as we know that innovations, they are born by mistakes, or born by the freedom to think kind of. Of course, there's also the, kind of discipline that believes that push, 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 and then you get the innovations. And they are coming also, but it's not so obvious that it's only one way.
Yeah.
One way. And empathy and emotions, that's the fourth that actually stays. And this, in today's life, it's most important because we need the wise decisions. If we don't have the wise decisions, then we don't have the trust. We don't have for the future. And these wise decisions we need for the sustainable, secure, trusted world. Of course, that's done together with the industry. Industry plays a key role in that.
Thank you. Taina, for sharing these thoughts with us. I'd like to hand over the next question to Thomas Pletcher. The ICC, the International Chamber of Commerce, is the voice of world business. It's headquartered in Paris, in the beautiful city of Paris, and embraces 45 million companies in over 100 countries. And you run the ICC office here in Switzerland. And my question is, what is the role of ICC in global business education? And what are the recent developments from the industry perspective?
Well, thank you. ICC was created just at the end of the First World War by a group of businessmen. They called them Merchants of Peace, and their objective was peace and prosperity through trade and development. I think this slogan is still valid today. ICC focuses on various activities. One is advocacy. This advocacy is done to facilitate trade and investment. We are the only private observer organization being a member of the UN General Assembly. So this is one part. Second part are services like, for example, Court of the arbitration court. And the third part, and here I come to the educational part, is we are setting rules for trade, for banking, for finances. And here we are confronted with the issue that we need a training, a lifelong training share during the professional activities. In Switzerland, we are used to this system having an educational part and a practical part in parallel, but we do not have this on a global scale. And for that reason, ICC runs almost since the beginning seminars, trainings on a decentralized way, but now we are having created, we have created a ICC Academy with headquarters in Singapore with the support of the Singapore government, and there we offer since about 2017 online training courses in addition to the physical training courses. And in the recent times during COVID, we have this arm has quite some development courses, online webinars on different topics have become much more important. And for a global organization, I think this is the only way how we can ensure a development in the professional education, in addition to the professional work around the globe. We have been focusing our activities at the beginning more on the developed world, but now we have national committees like the one I run in Switzerland around the globe in almost 100 countries. And if you can think about the challenges to offer a training in trade finance, in export activities, not only in Switzerland, Germany, US, but also in Afghanistan, in developing countries, then one sees that it can only be done if you offer a truly digital work. There are a lot of challenges, but I think to that we will come back later.
Sure. Thanks, Thomas, for diving into the world of ICC with us and our viewers. Carolyn, you're the founder and CEO of Women in Governments based in Montreal. So thanks for tuning in from Canada today. Carolyn, gender equality is the DNA of your company, we could say that. So could you please share with us which innovative business models work best to support women economic empowerment?
Well, thanks for having me. It's a delight to be in Switzerland this morning. That's the beauty, I guess, of the pandemic. I've been speaking globally and I'm not even jet lagged. So
How
it's
quick
quite
that
fantastic.
goes.
So before I begin, I just want to sort of share some glaring statistics about what the situation is and why for the past 10 years, Women in Governance has been working so hard at trying to close the gender gap in the workplace in various industries, in all male-dominated fields and at every level of organizations. We are actually celebrating our 10th anniversary next week. We've got a global Parity Summit. Thank you so much on November 12th and 13th. So anybody who's interested, the website is above my head. Please join us. And we will be talking about all sorts of different topics, including women in STEM and how important it is to encourage more women in these fields. I mean, it's no secret that the tech sector is experiencing the labor shortage. So we cannot just count on half of the population to fill these positions. It's an industry that is also bound to experience strong growth over the next few years. And there are many opportunities available. But despite the potential in this field, it's quite striking to see that there are still not enough women in the sector, that they should be part of the solution, not only because they can fill these positions and they've got everything that is needed, but also they can ensure a diversity of experiences, of points of view, of perspectives, which is what drives more innovation, a more robust decision-making process, and just overall makes more business sense. We've seen it everywhere. So many research that demonstrate that if you've got more diversity as a whole, not just the women, but diversity, people of different religious background, different cultural backgrounds, LGBTQ communities, indigenous communities, you actually have a better financial performance. So if it's not for the ethical reason, or if it's not just to try to mirror our society, at least do it for economic reasons. I think this usually resonates best with business owners and CEOs. So as I mentioned, for the past decade, working to get more women into the boardroom has been our focus. Now we've shifted more and more towards the STEM and the importance of more women in digital, and I think COVID-19 has probably accelerated that. It has had a devastating impact on women. The pandemic is a pandemic that has mostly impacted feminine jobs. And for years, corporate leaders have talked up a big game about diversity and supporting women leadership. But even before the pandemic, we were 180 years away from reaching gender parity. And these numbers are not just from the top of my head. These are numbers that have been shared at Davos, at the World Economic Forum, numbers that you can find in McKinsey global reports, etc. Globally, less than 8% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. And among Canadian companies, that number is less than 5%. Women in executive officer positions still earn about 68 cents for every dollar earned by their male counterparts. Mm-hmm. So it's quite striking. There's a lot of work to do. The movement is slow, but it's constant, and I think there is a big awakening in how important it is to have more female role models. And I've done a lot of work with NASA in the United States. I was a keynote speaker for them just last month, and actually having one of their executive directors on a panel at our event next week, alongside an executive director from the Canadian Space Agency. And NASA has renamed their headquarters by the name of one of the hidden figures, one of the original engineers that helped send men to space. Mary Johnson, sorry. So I think it's fantastic, all the things that we are seeing in pledges and engagements and desires of having more women engaged. But I think there needs to be a lot more done very concretely in terms of preparing women and training them, mentoring them, giving them also the ability to come out of their comfort zone and feel confident that they can actually accomplish these jobs, and providing them with a safe space. I mean, still too many women are telling us how they feel that these industries are sometimes hostile to women. So we need to ensure that women feel welcome and that they are they have a seat at the table and that they can use their voice. So I think in a nutshell, that kind of opens up my
Absolutely, very important statement. Thanks, Carolyn. You're so right. Pierre, you are the academic director of the Center for Digital Education and professor of learning technologies in the School of Computer and Communication Sciences at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in beautiful Lausanne. And my question is, how do we make education more agile? Oh, we can't hear you, dear Pierre. Please turn on your microphone. Perfect.
So there are
Thank you.
two things. What we do for vocational education, Thomas mentioned what we call Berufsbildung, is that the corporate association have to redefine a new curriculum every 5 years, which is a huge amount of work. And one question we're addressing is, can we make it faster? You know, WHO is following or CDC in the US following the propagation of viruses online very quickly. So can we do the same thing for the emergence of new training needs? And so can we mine the web? Can we mine the job ads? Can we mine the forums? Can we mine the Q&A system to detect automatically that training needs is emerging, not waiting 5 years? 5 years, you think about blockchain, 5 years is eternity. That for very specific training needs. But I want to talk about more global training needs in the society. So we are a top school, science and technology, like top 15 in the world, usually top 10 in computer science. All graduates will have no problem in the digital society. That's not our concern. What about the rest of the society? How do they understand algorithms? How do they understand that the recommender system, technologies behind Facebook, Twitter, and so on, choose to show to you opinions that you agree with? So Trump fans only receive news that support Trump. Anti-Trump people only receive news from the anti-Trump camp. And so you have a country being totally divided today, as we witness in real time. So the motto in our university is that it's not just our graduates. We have to prepare the entire society to this digital world. I'm not talking about learning to code. That's a skill that is important for getting a job. But beyond getting a job, what does a citizen need to understand with the algorithms to be able to live in this modern world, you know, not to elect the same guy again and again. So the one approach that we did, for instance, in the Center for Learning Science here, we trained 300 kindergarten teachers. Caroline, they were all women, by the way, they were some women. And to do computational thinking skills, so understanding algorithms, in kindergarten without computer. You can do sorting algorithm with wooden blocks. In some case, we draw the sorting algorithm on the carpet and the kids move, and so they enact the algorithm itself. Believe it or not, 97% of these kindergarten teachers who were totally scared to have to do that actually put that in practice into the school. So for me, one of the big challenges today is to think about how the compulsory school curriculum K to 12 should be reshaped to integrate this computational thinking, this understanding, not being a computer science, not becoming a geek, understanding the basic algorithms that manipulate us. Once I was speaking in front of mathematics teachers, physics teachers, and all of them, and I said, you know, if these algorithms are being taught by mathematics professors or computer science professors, all the people who don't like mathematics will say, no, that's not for me. And we fail our goal of reaching the entire society. So I would like, what is important that every teacher integrates these basic skills in his teaching. They told me this is not possible, we have no time. I said, history teacher, no, we have no time. But 1 week later, I received an email from 12 Latin teachers. No, Latin is a grammar. A grammar is a graph. What we know how to do in computer science is to manipulate grammatical structure like a language. And Latin is quite a nice grammatical language as well. So they said, yeah, we would like to integrate computational thinking in Latin so that the people who are more on literature than on mathematics still believe that it's part of their basic skills as a citizen to understand algorithms. And to finish, I would say, very often when you say this, everybody say, oh yes, we have to change education. We have to do that. And we create committees. And all committees fail 6 months later when there is one question that emerges. Okay, what do we stop teaching? If we have to teach new skills, what are the skills that we will stop because the curriculum is full? So usually that's the most difficult moment when you want to improve education, is to agree with colleagues what you are not going to teach anymore. Or to use a dictionary. Try it with a teacher. You know, dictionaries are obsolete. We never use dictionaries anymore. We have a dictionary in every device that we use. And still we teach the kids how to use a dictionary. Learning to sort is important. Learning to search, that's important. But manipulating the page of a dictionary is last century. And try that with a colleague. Say, oh, we're not going to teach you how to use a dictionary. You will get killed in 1 minute. So for me, the challenge is there are new skills that every citizen needs to be equipped with. And the sub-challenge is, okay, but there are some skills so that we have to abandon because they belong to the last century.
Merci, Pierre, for these insights. So many steps ahead in that case. That's what I felt from your speech. Taina, our futurist, Mr. Leonhard, just said we live in a world of big data. Data is the fuel of digitalization and for sure also of Industry 4.0. Could you give us innovative examples from the Nordic countries you're living in on how data is used for the benefit of people in the fourth industrial revolution era?
Thank you. I would like to, at first, thank you, the excellent, points from my colleagues. And I would like to actually comment about
yes,
it before going to the data. Of course, at first, if I start from Thomas and Pierre, about the kindergarten, the importance of kindergarten. And also it's related to the question that you just actually pose about it. We actually in Finland and I think Switzerland are similar in that sense that actually we believe it, that the kindergarten is kindergarten, preschool, schooling, the early stages are so important in learning lifetime that process. That actually tells a lot about our future and also the success and what we actually how our actually approach for learning is through play. So learning through play and we are actually living and letting the children to be children actually pretty long time. So it's on the age of 6 when actually it comes like a little bit more like a fundamental, but still actually via play, the kind of comprehensive training. And that's important for creativity. It's important for the actually new things and so forth. And and there also it's a philosophy that learners have an active role, so they know what and how they learn. And this, I think, it's extremely important today's life, as Pia, you said, that everything is we can click and we can find out the information. So why actually that should be taught? I mean, during the sessions, of course, the certain things discussion is important, and it's important this, I mean, this mission and challenge driven thinking, and even the kids can actually, I mean, solve the issues like the sustainability. I mean, they have a great solution. We know actually, of course, Greta Thunberg, but even the younger children, actually, they teach the families and parents, and as an example, for recycle the things.
You're right.
And that goes to the digital as well. But now actually turning to your question.
Yeah, thanks for this comment. Very important one. Thank you, Taina.
Yes. Yes, and then this next one, actually about the innovative examples. Of course, one of the, if I'm thinking now the Caroline, I mean, and role models. Of course, I mean, everybody know that our government is now women-led, and that's actually the huge role model for the whole world and for us as well. And the one thing actually that our Prime Minister Sanna Marin in governmental program has set it up. It's related to this data. These innovative examples are similar in Nordics, but of course I know the Finnish example, so I use the Finnish examples. So there is actually one goal, which actually in the governmental program that the Finland, we want to be a pioneer in digitalization, technological development, innovative procurement, and experimentation, experimenting, and then, I mean, discovering the things related to this digital era. And there was a digital report done now in Corona times, and there are certain things, I mean, real-time economy and real-time economic and financial data in everyday life, for example, in our taxation system is actually wonderful in that sense. Of course, nobody likes the taxes, that's the issue, but they are digital. So actually, I mean, as a person, a company, or as an individual person, you get your proposal for your taxation. And of course, then you need to claim, I mean, yourself. It's, I mean, up to you. But I mean, if you don't, I mean, claim it, it goes like automatically in the system. So those kind of things, I mean, are working. Of course, the artificial intelligence deployment, it is even in our governmental plan, so that actually it's used for better public services. One example, which was a year ago done in my home city. I'm from Espoo, which is close to Helsinki. I don't know Helsinki, you know, but maybe not Espoo. So they did it in public services with the industry. The company is Tieto. The experiment that about the artificial intelligence and how to find out, I mean, the service paths for heavy users, heavy service users, and then the lighter service users, and they were grouping, and that was helping the services. But that was in that time the kind of unique thing done, trying to use the artificial intelligence for planning better public services. But there's huge potential. Of course, there are huge threats as well. I mean, so and of course, even though we are talking about that, there are lots available, but we are still missing a lot. And the things that we are missing is, of course, this privacy and security, cyber security, as an example. It's a huge challenge. For everybody, for every country, for every company, and of course that's part of the plan as well, and also to creating the cybersecurity industry, and we have it actually, of course. I mean, globally we know there is that such an industry. One of those examples, this was about the good examples, but there's also the challenging examples, and one of the challenging examples happened just a couple of weeks ago in our country. So there was leaking information from mental health a company. It was a subcontractor for the hospitals. It was a private small company, and the information was leaking out. So this kind of things, I mean, cannot happen in today's world, but they are happening. So there's a lot of things that actually industry needs to do, which are simple things, and to secure in the future that it's possible to be truly digital in certain things, operation in which are simple and so forth as such. Then one positive example, and that's about our open data and my data approach. Open data, we opened the data in Helsinki from even more than 10 years ago, 2008, and now there is lots of open data available. And anybody can actually, I mean, connect to that open data. There was also, and still is, the My Data initiative. And this My Data is actually important, in my opinion, because this is actually for ethical use of my personal data. And that's something that we should put more emphasis. There's even actually small organization. It started from the research thing, but now there is actually, I mean, non-profit, international non-profit working on that. But there's still lots of room to do in this My Data thing. Who owns your data? Am I owning my
very
data?
important to know security and who owns it, and yeah, feeling safe about that. Thanks,
Yes.
Taina.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thomas, how does ICC Switzerland as a national chapter fit into the global ICC activities related to digital education?
Yeah. As I mentioned, ICC has almost 100 national committees worldwide, and these national committees organize the concrete actions. So the whole activity of ICC is split between centralized global activities and decentralized activities at the national level. ICC Switzerland has the objective to build the bridge between the Swiss internationally active, the Swiss-based internationally active companies and this global network. And if I'm looking at the concrete action in Switzerland, and if I compare it to other national committees, I see quite some differences. For example, if I'm looking to my Austrian colleague, he runs about 200 seminars and events per year. We in Switzerland are running one or two. The reason is we have in Switzerland a quite dense network of organizations that are already providing education in the field of trade, export, etc. Second, we have in Switzerland our dual education system with strict curriculums for professionals, with federally recognized exams, etc. And it is a little bit difficult to fit a global oriented educational program into this national network. So I mentioned that there are some challenges in organizing or in running a global educational system. In Switzerland, a lot of these activities are already provided for by other organizations than ICC. For us, this is a challenge because our branding, the knowledge that is elaborated, the development of the rules, etc., are not directly recognized as ICC products, but are part of the, let's put me like that, the ordinary educational system. And I must acknowledge that there is a loophole or a missing link between our activities and the academic and educational work. Here we would have to establish more cooperation between Fachhochschulen, the higher educational system, also between the professional education we have in Switzerland and the activities of the global business organization. This is completely different in other countries where the dense network of educational institutions does not exist, and where the basic education is provided for by, at least in some parts, by ICC national committees.
Pierre, you just wanted to add something.
Yeah, just a short comment. At the PFL, we were the pioneers in Europe in these massive open online courses, MOOCs. We got more than 2 million students in the world that have taken a MOOC from EPFL. And just to continue what Thomas said, actually, it was a surprise to discover that 2/3 of them have a job. So it was course from the campus, but actually many people from companies, because Thomas was saying there is a bit of a gap between the vocational corporate training and the academic. And in some way, these courses, when you put them online, you have no control of who takes them. So they were taken by people who had a job in a company, maybe wanted to leave the company, maybe wanted to move on in the company, maybe wanted to be independent. So it was a great surprise for us that once it's online, when it's on campus and you have conditions to enter and all a formal system, but once it's online, it's in the wild. There is no condition. You want it, you take it. The average age was about 13, and the average people had already a degree before. That was it.
Thanks, Pierre, for the comment.
This will be the future development. And the COVID crisis accelerated this move, because suddenly one discovered that one can participate in seminars or in trainings organized anywhere in the world. And I think this will really influence the development. In Switzerland, we will be faced with the challenge to integrate these activities, which sometimes focus only on a certain aspect, how we do integrate these courses, these elements into our ordinary education, into our ordinary system. How can we combine these two parts? I feel it is possible. There are no fundamental obstacles, but there is a lack of interchange between the two worlds, so to speak.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing your thoughts with us. Carolyn, I have another question that I'd like to hand over to you. Which transformation actions are necessary, in your opinion, to advance women economic empowerment and innovation?
Thank you. So if the warp speed of digitization during the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that very soon we're not going to recognize the workplace of today. Everything has changed. People are working from home. Everything has become online. We're doing our shopping online. We're where it's increasingly important, and hopefully that'll be a good thing for both our businesses and for our society. And I'm hopeful that our recovery will go with a greater level of diversity, of equity, and inclusion. You know, it's interesting to note that throughout the early 19th and the 20th centuries, and up to World War II, really, computer programming was predominantly done by women. In Canada today, despite an increase in women with STEM degrees, the proportion of these women working in STEM fields is still minuscule. It only increased by less than 2% over a period of 30 years. So it's quite striking. On average, we're told that about half of young women express an interest in STEM fields at a very early age. However, only 19% earn computer science degrees. And grades are not the issue. I mean, the girls are good at school. They're often even better than boys. Don't tell the boys, but it's a reality. They're more perseverant at school. And what we've been seeing is that the implicit and explicit gender bias do play a large role, partly perpetuated by our society, by parents, by teachers, by employers even. And also that lack of female role model that we talked about earlier. Not enough women in TV series, not enough toys or films or media that embody these women in STEM. We also remember James Damore. Remember him? He was previously at Google, who was saying that there was a biological reason for a lack of female computer scientists. So there's still craziness like that out there. Wikipedia, that is, not recognizing women the way that they're recognizing men. And for instance, the scientist Donna Strickland, she only got her Wikipedia page after she won the Nobel Prize for Physics. It's completely crazy. And there's what we call a leaky pipeline, which depicts women passively leaking out of STEM careers with no discussion of why these leaks even occur. In fact, the cracks and the gaps that are caused by non-inclusive environments, they're the major cause of this leak. We need to shift our focus from trying to fix the women to trying to fix the environment. It's well documented that women in STEM feel that they're experiencing difficult situations in meetings, like being ignored, like being man-interrupted, or that their ideas are only used when a man has repeated, that there's even an expression for this now, it's called he-peating. So when a man repeats the idea of a woman, all of a sudden it's adopted. So I think we need to work on fixing the environment, working on unconscious bias, having more male champions. There's a huge movement on male allies who are actually becoming a voice for more women in STEM, who recognize the importance of bringing more women into these disciplines and what they bring to the table. And also research vividly demonstrates less funding to women, underrepresentation in publishing, bias in hiring and recommendations, and just overall less recognition and visibility for women in STEM. One of the things that we've been doing in Canada and the United States at Women in Governance to try to sort of fix the environment is creating a Parity Certification, which is the logo that you see next to me. And that Parity Certification we've built with the pro bono support of McKinsey & Company, one of the largest consulting firms in the world, to support organizations that want to close the gender gap in the workplace. So we measure what these companies do from entry level all the way to the executive committee and to the board to support women's progression, whether it's in terms of recruiting, retention, promotion, compensation, training, mentoring, etc. So the certification is changing the landscape in Canada. We've got more than 60 organizations that have enrolled. We've also launched in the United States, and we've got this amazing partnership with it's a historic partnership with the Girl Scouts of the USA, and they do a ton of work to support young girls for their leadership development, but also into STEM. The former CEO of the Girl Scouts at the time that we signed the partnership together, she used to be a rocket scientist at NASA. And to her, it's extremely important that all these little workshops for little girls also encompass building robots and doing more scientific disciplines. And so I mentioned our Global Parity Summit next week. We also have a young rising star who will be one of our speakers. She's only 19 years old. Her name is Alyssa Carson, and she's an astronaut in training. It's extremely important that girls and young women see that it actually exists, that there are some amazing models out there. Alyssa attended her first space camp at age 7. Wow. At age 16, she became the youngest person to have ever graduated from the Advanced Space Academy and the first person to have completed all of NASA's 7 space camps. She received a certification in applied astronautics. I mean, she's just phenomenal. She's basically now officially certified to do suborbital research flight and venture into space, and all that before she even got her driver's permit.
In that age, crazy.
So we definitely need to accelerate the pace of change. It's been too slow. We know that progress is not going to happen overnight, but if women can work on feeling more self-confident, being more bold and choosing these disciplines, and men can be good allies to us and use their voice to amplify women's voices and be champions of the cause, that's going to be extremely helpful. But of course, companies need to if this is really what they want, it's obvious that if you're looking for diversity, you're going to find it. And if you're not looking for it, you're going to find excuses. So let's make sure we continue to shape the world that we want to see for ourselves and for our children. We cannot wait another 880 years. We really need to change the timeline now and work at it together, men, women, organizations, and governments, and obviously academia.
World, Caroline, word. Pierre, as Caroline just mentioned before, Ada Lovelace, for example, was the first woman in the 1840s who wrote the world's first machine algorithm. I would like to know, on that note, do you believe that coding is a necessary skill in the near future, and do all students need to learn to code?
As I mentioned before, I believe more than computational thinking, reasoning with algorithms, more than coding itself, is the most important skill for all men and women. Now, coding is kind of a playful way to acquire this computational thinking skill. We don't want this computational thinking class to look like a mathematics class. And we have this small robot. There are many of them, and one of them is developed in my university. We sold 60,000 of them to parents and schools to bring coding accessible to all kids and all teachers. So globally, we don't want to make all students developers, but some coding today is basically, as important as the tables of multiplication. It should be kind of basic thing. So following what Caroline said, we are very sensitive to this issue. We have robotics for girls classes, we have coding for girls, we have internet for girls. And why for girls is because we realize that sometimes they prefer to be among themselves than to be mixed, but we have also, of course, mixed classes. We have a very strong policy to hire women as professors, as role models. To be honest, this is slow. Our progress are very slow. We are still, I think in 10 years, we move from 20 to 30% engineering students. So yeah, we do a lot, and we will not stop doing it. We'll continue, but this coding for girls, we go into secondary school. We don't do it here. We bring them as early as possible, but then, as you said, Caroline, the pipe is leaky. We have some of them, they come, they're 14, they want to go to our engineering school, but actually, depending on life, maybe they will not end up. So that's still a challenge for all engineering schools to have more science more women in science and technology.
Thank you, Pierre. There just came in a question from our audience. Caroline, I'd like to hand over to you. How can men play a more active role in promoting gender equality in women's empowerment?
So that's such an important question. I mean, I believe firmly on in the importance of diversity. So it's not just words. Our board is actually co-chaired by a woman and a man. The woman being Monique Leroux, who sits on boards globally. She's a model. She was the first woman at the head of the largest large financial institution here in Canada, Desjardins. So to me, and so she co-chairs with a man, Norman Steinberg, who used to be the global chair of Norton Rose Fulbright, which is one of the largest law firms in the world. And I would say that you know, from what I've seen, men want to be a part of the conversation. Often they don't know where to start, or they don't know if they're accepted in that space. They feel it might not be their role. And I think it's up to us to make them feel comfortable and welcome. In all our events, we make sure that we have diversity. We need to have men at the table. And if they are well equipped, if they understand what the issues are, and they decide, you know, if they're the ones who have the power, if they're the ones who are the CEOs, with 5% of female CEOs, that means 95% are male. If we want them to open their doors, if we want the tone at the top to be the appropriate tone, then definitely men have a role to play. And that's at every level, at every age. So we're talking about obviously the tone at the top, so that there are more women who can make it all the way to the top of organizations. But here in Quebec, we have a young rapper a male rapper, who goes from school to school, and he's got songs about the importance of gender equality and respecting girls, etc. So to me, it's a key part of our conversation. And we're lucky to have a prime minister in Canada, Justin Trudeau, who I do a lot of work with, who's an openly feminist and is not shy to say that it is men's role to help close that gender gap.
Thank you, Caroline. Time is running. We only have time for one last question. I'm so sorry. We could talk on and on about this very interesting topic. Pierre, one last question I'd like to pose to you. Why are there so few 3D printers in school?
I don't understand. Ask a question to all the people. We have these fantastic things, and every time I enter a school, say, where are the 3D printers? Of course, they should not be in the back of the classroom, because some of them make no sense.
That's too dangerous.
No, but you know, this is an example of a change of culture. We've been living in a subtractive world, like to make piece of wood, you cut a tree, you cut things, you cut like that, you cut like that, you cut like, and at the end you make a furniture, or you make a roof. And today you have this additive logic that does not replace the subtractive. You don't cut anymore, you cut and you add. And how do you add a dot in a 3D space? Or you need another dot below. That's a complete different logic of building 3D. So let's get our kids excited. You can 3D print in wood. You can 3D print in chocolate today. You could 3D print in plastic, in iron, and so on. So I think I've seen a change, like in the last 3 years. And in the last 3 years, I've given about 50 talks per year, not in conference anymore, in schools. And I could give the double, but I said no. Because I think all school directors understand that they have to do something to prepare their kids to the future. Not because of our work, because of the AI, the fear of AI. And so I think we are in good times now. And with the COVID and all schools being homeschooling brutally from one day to the next day, the field is a bit more ready. We will come back to the school, of course, but I think times are ready to bring a bit more of these things in the classroom. When you talk about digital education, people imagine kids in front of the tablet or in front of a computer for the entire day watching things. That's not the digital world. 3D printing is a good example. Going in the forest with the iPad, taking picture of a mushroom, coming back to the classroom and print the mushroom in 3D. That's the life of a classroom. So the bottleneck today is teacher training. Clearly, it's not the technology, it's teacher training, and that's really, for me, the priority. When I will be Minister of Education, I will push on that.
Hopefully he listens what you said and he's joining Future Talk too. Thank you so much, Pierre. And thanks to all of you being part at Future Talk 2020. Thanks for this very interesting talk, for letting us into your thoughts, into your experiences concerning this very important topic. All the best to you. Hopefully see you next year at Future Talk 2021, and stay safe and healthy. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So we are now coming to the end of today's session on artificial intelligence. And as you see, Danny Gauch and Nader Imani are joining me here on stage. And I'd like to give the word to the Director General, Danny Gauch from World Didact, for takeaways and remarks on today's session. Danny.
Thank you very much, Doro. Another very interesting and useful session has come to an end. It's clear that AI and Industrial 4.0 can't be handled within a couple of hours, but I definitely believe that our speakers and panelists have been able to spark some new thoughts. I'd like to share one or two of my takeaways per person in a brief summary, and hope that I can trigger the one or other thought with you, dear participants. Mr. Mauro Moruzzi left me understanding Switzerland's key to success lying with the creation of optimal framework conditions for working with the private sector and their inclusion in education development. Mr. Timo Rajakangas inspired me by explaining the Finnish approach to education as being dedication, the right approach, and vision, which I interpret to be do the right things and do them right. Mrs. Cecilia Ugas Estrada left the comment in my mind that digitalization and lifelong learning are key aspects of Industry 4.0 and will always remain at the core throughout the learning cycle. Gerd Leonhard soothed me by making clear that there will always be the need for imperfect humans to monitor all those perfect systems. Mr. Hans-Jörg Stotz brought forward that clear-cut separations of professions are slowly a thing of the past, and that the future requires flexible and versatile professionals. Mr. Gian Mischke made me aware of the fact that digitalization is on steroids, and this requires a consequent adaptation within education. Sergio Fasque brought to our attention that taking care of the digital divide is of high importance. Mrs. Michelle Mitura left me with the image in my head of specialists throwing away large folders and pulling out tablets with all the necessary information at their fingertips, making them more agile and efficient. Mr. Mark von Tobel clarified that AI must be demystified so as to increase acceptance and to unleash its true power. Ms. Taina Tukiainen, I hope I said that right, leaves me to believe that we should encourage freedom to think and make mistakes, which should lead to the capability to make the right decisions. Mr. Thomas Pletcher brought up the importance of the accessibility to digital tools for education for a successful transition. Mrs. Caroline Kotzi made clear to me that gender bias must be overcome and that gender stereotyping would be harmful in bringing AI and Industry 4.0 forward. And last but not least, Mr. Pierre Dillenburg made me aware that computational thinking could be fundamental for a successful implementation and acceptance of AI in the new education era. I'd like to thank all speakers and panelists and can assure you that I'm looking forward to rewatching the sessions again on the World Didact YouTube channel so that I can grasp every message even better. Thank you.
Thanks for summarizing what we experienced today. What a great panel, what great panels we had. Yeah, what a great day at Future Talk 2020. Nader, I'd like to give the word to you to hear more about Future Talk 2020 declaration and education. We listen, we learn, we share.
Thank you, Doro. Thank you, Danny. What an amazing 3 days. For a person who has been spending his entire professional life in education, I have to say, it has been a lifelong learning experience for me. Listening to so many speakers, so many policymakers, opinion leaders, it's really amazing because it's opening you, flashes. It gives you a lot of ideas in your mind that you can really take home. And this is exactly what we would like to give as a, let's say, giveaway for the entire community of the education out of these 3 days with high-value speakers that we have been having together with us. So this is about a document, a declaration that we would like to complement with all the keynotes and all the different findings that we have been having from our speakers. This document is a pre-conference version already available on our webpage, and we are going to complement it and also finalize it so it can be, let's see, be used as a kind of working document for the entire education community around the globe. Hopefully, until the next Future Talk, that we will all also again talk about a subject of importance. The Bern Future Talk 2020 declaration is about us. So we, education executives, education experts, representative and agencies, the private sector, and regional, international, and civil society organizations have gathered here in Bern, Switzerland, from 4th to 6th of November 2020 for the Future Talk conference. 3 conference days are dedicated to 3 different topics: STEAM for education, green education, and artificial intelligence, and the 4th industrial revolution. Men and women, all ages, representing all regions around the globe, came together to share their ideas, experience, expertise, and thereby help shape the future of education in those areas. We meet at a critical moment in the process of establishing a global sustainable development agenda. We express our wholehearted support for all the SDGs, but in particular for the SDG number 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So we think innovation. Skills, knowledge, and technology need to evolve together, hand in hand, with both human and social interaction. The creative use of skills and knowledge supports the development, building, and maintenance of a sustainable smart societies. Governments have a role in supporting the development of new skills to keep up with the innovative and in the both society and the industry. We think STEAM, the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are supporting as an essential component for teaching young adults from the 21st century and the present and the future world we will live in by adding the interdisciplinary, holistic, and abstract approach of the arts, STEM turned into the STEAM, triggering curiosity, creativity, and compassion for lifelong learning regardless of gender. We think green. Growing concerns about climate change, environmental degradation, and scarcity of resources are changing the nature of work and life. Technological progress aligned with the sustainability issues requires the need to explore and develop green education that not only focuses on sustainable production and frugal living, but also helps to overcome environmental challenges in a systematic way. Especially TVET, technical vocational education and training, and related transformation of TVET and lifelong learning can play a fundamental and crucial role in this context. Education will impact our attitudes or values that we need to have to perfect our planet we borrowed from our next generations. We think artificial intelligence in the era of Industry 4.0. The fourth industrial revolution is changing the world around us. Digital innovations, the Internet of Things, and the big data and artificial intelligence are driving globalization beyond borders and impact the global economy. The environment, labor market, and the society's intellectual-intensive jobs will be impacted just as much as hope, shop floors activities, and modern manufacturing. Education and skills development from primary school to lifelong learning, as well as partnership at all levels and within all sectors, are in high demand all around the globe. Individuals will need to be well-educated and highly trained in new technologies, as well as the values associated with using those technologies. Artificial intelligence will help us in EdTech for a better learning efficiency. Within jobs, prosperity, and inclusion, education should be adaptable and applicable to be relevant industry and business sectors. Experience from industry and the labor market at large is essential to strike a balance between practical skills and academic education. Education should be the foundation to promise people jobs and prosperity for a decent life. We believe in a future with a digital learning. The recent COVID-19 crisis has highlighted, despite the development in recent years, that the use and deployment of digital learning, e-learning, online learning is still at an early stage and was not prepared to become a mainstream tool. Digital education will be required worldwide. Nonetheless, will impact the nature of education delivery with regard to students on how to learn, teachers on how to teach, and schools and policymakers on how to invest in education. In conclusion, we stand united behind this declaration and commit ourselves to abide by it, carry it home, become its ambassadors, and ensure its positive outcome and long-standing resonance. We regard this Bern Declaration Future Talk 2020 as a recommendation from our community to the community interested in forward-looking and future-oriented education all over the world. We express our deep appreciation to our patron, the Government of People of Bern, for their hospitality and support for this year's Future Talk conference, and we note with appreciation Bern's dedication to the future of education. We thank our conference lead agencies, UNESCO UIL, UNESCO Univog, and UNIDO. We thank our Future Talk 2020 embassy hosts, the Embassy of Canada, the Embassy of Finland, and the Embassy of Korea for their willingness and support to help building towards matching demand and supply of education in a changing world. As most important, we sincerely thank all our speakers and contributors who have been the ones who have brought the Future Talk dialogue platform to live with their perspective, their contribution, their impulses, and ideas.
So this is the point. I'm sorry, Doro, but I'm going to play the Director General card. I would like to express my appreciation to you too, Nader. The effort you've brought and put into that document, really very valuable, and I do believe it will bring something in the future. It's about getting the people on board, bringing people together for education, for the improvement of education, and I think we're on the right track. I thank you so much for that.
Thank you too.
Now, as I'm already doing thanks, I would like to get one person to come up on the front, and this person, Elfie. Elfie Klump is the driver behind the Future Talk event. And just to make sure I'm doing the right social distancing here, a little bit into the light would be nice. a big thank you to you for all of your efforts, for all those for all those long nights, and I hope that we can count on you for 2021 again. Thank you very much. Then, of course, we also have people in the background, and these people in the background are also very important. So I would like to call the team from World at Bern. We have Annalea de Courtins. Please come forward. Then we have Sarah Kuntz. I'm not doing this in any specific manner. Then we have Alexandra Fuhr-Schmidt. Please come forward. We have Joël Lüthi. And last but not least, Katharina Schütz. A little bit into the light. You deserve the light. You're going to get something from me afterwards, but I believe it's important that everybody is able to see you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, finally, the last person, of course, we have to thank, and then you can say the closing words. Doro Gelmar.
Wow.
A small thank you very much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Danny. It was a lot of
Thank
fun.
you.
What a, wow, beautiful. This will get a perfect place in my home. Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this was Future Talk 2020. What exciting days we had together here in Bern or all around the globe, you watching us online from wherever you are at the moment. Hopefully see you next year, all together for Future Talk 2021. Stay safe, stay healthy, all the best to you, and thanks a lot to the whole team. This event would not have been possible without you. Also, the technical guys over there, thank you. Very good job. All the best to you. Bye-bye. Thank you.